Hey everybody, this is Jerry. For those of you who don't know, who might have seen some of my videos, you might assume I'm extroverted, but I've actually been an introvert all my life, and it's never going to change. The only difference between me and most introverts is that I've trained myself through many grueling years to be able to socialize when needed and to be energetic and crazy when the situation calls for it. But my temperament has always been in here. I've always preferred to be alone. I've always preferred to be with very few close friends. I honestly hate crowds. I hate loud noises. I hate lots of stimulus. In fact, what's funny is when I was young, my parents noticed I was introverted, and they would often force me to do something, perform or go make friends, and they'd get mad at me, threatening to kick my ass if I didn't. So I think that was the origin of why I wanted to be a performer, because I always felt like I was doing something. I felt like I was making my parents proud. I felt like, by stepping out of my comfort zone, I was growing, which I was. Knowing that I'm an introvert and I need my time alone, this is especially evident very late at night and very early in the morning. When I get up in the morning, I do not want to interact with anyone. And it's not because I'm not a morning person. I am a morning person. I'm very energetic in the morning. But I just don't want to be around people. My mind is not ready to extrovert, so to speak. Same thing late at night. I've already dealt with people the whole day, and I don't want to do it anymore. I want to just relax, write. I do a lot of writing at night. I do a lot of artistic things at night because that's so inner. It's accessing everything, processing everything. I used to work in journalism, and journalism does not have many regular hours. I worked a 6:30 to 3 p.m. shift for a while. Honestly, it was okay. What made it miserable was one coworker. He was the exact opposite of an introvert. He needed to talk it out. His center of focus, so to speak, was so external, everything. He processed stimulus externally. As an introvert, it's hard to understand how extroverts function because for us, it's so in here, but for them, something in the pathway of their brains make it so they have to hear it, they have to maybe feel it, they have to say it before it processes. Whereas for us, the more we think it, the more it makes sense in here. The more we say it, it almost confuses us. That's why it takes us so long to learn how to public speak, or takes us so long to learn to talk on our feet. And that's one of the reasons I took improv. It helped me a lot to learn how to think on my feet. The point is, he really needed to talk it out. And I didn't understand back then the difference between introverts and extroverts. I'd never read up on that. So 6:30 I get in. He would get in at 7 o'clock sharp. He'd give me a call. The phone became my biggest enemy. For a while I tried to unplug it, but then if I tried to unplug it, maybe someone else would try to call. Maybe a manager would try to call. So I had to plug it in. And every day, 7 o'clock sharp, I'd get a call from this guy. Hey, what you got? Hey, what's up? He tried to make small talk, which I wasn't in the mood for because I was busy. I was busy writing stories. And then he'd want to discuss what to post on social media. I've told them many times, I said, just tell me what you need, write in email, and you can just email it to me. And he would tell me, yeah, but it's easier for me to talk it out. And so it's a fundamental temperament clash. I just needed to process it internally in my brain. He needed to process it externally through verbal and auditory communication. I did my best. Eventually I realized he wasn't going to stop calling, so I tried my best to be professional and accommodate him. But eventually, I think it was the week before I left the station, it pissed me off so much that I just couldn't take it. So I told one of the managers, I just said, look, if this guy keeps calling me, I'm going to go off on him. He had a very punchable face, I'm just going to be honest. So I probably would have hit him. So I told my manager, I said, look, I've told him many times that I can't be distracted in the morning. Another thing about being introverted, it's especially hard for us to multitask because we're so processing it in here. So the moment an external stimulus gets to us, it disrupts everything in here. Imagine a salad that was perfectly put together and then you toss it. That's what happens in our brains, so to speak. So maybe for people who are extroverted, it doesn't work that way in their brain. Maybe as they're talking and accessing different things, it's helping them actually organize. So maybe that's why they jump from topic to topic. It seems like their mind's going a mile a second. But for us, our minds are so trying to make sense of all this external stimulus in here. So if you give us extra external stimulus, it disrupts the whole thing. And that's what happened, because in the morning I'd have all these tasks. I'd be working on one, bam, the phone would ring. I'd suddenly forget what I was doing for a second, and then I hear talk with him, blah blah blah, want to punch him in the face, and then I get off the phone. I didn't remember what I was doing, and usually I'd write it down, but still, that jolting of our mental processing is really annoying for an introvert. So eventually I couldn't take it, and I just told the manager, I said, please help me. So she called him, she had a good talk with him, and later the guy came up. He acted like he acted like it was funny. He's like, pretend like he was hiding from me. He still didn't get it, and I don't blame him for not getting it, because I didn't get his temperament either. He was an extrovert, very extrovert person. I was an introvert that many people thought was an extrovert because I learned to blend with the crowd, so to speak. But my temperament showed in the morning. And this is just such a case of whether HR or managers or something need training in this, because there are a lot of introverts in society, and in fact many of them are like me. We learn to survive, especially in Western culture. We have to blend with the extrovert crowd, but we process everything in here. And I think eventually I realized being an introvert's just bad to be in journalism, because especially television journalism, because you're constantly getting interrupted. So I left. What if I were some person who just really loved journalism so much I couldn't get myself to leave, even though my temperament wasn't fit for broadcast journalism? Then all my hair would be lost instead of a little bit right now. I tell this story for all my fellow introverts. It's also up to us to educate people on our temperament. We like to stick to ourselves, stick to a few small people, so we have a smaller social circle. But for the sake of all fellow introverts, try your best to make a few more friends than you usually do, so that way more people get to know our temperament. And for people extroverted, just know there are people in this world who don't want to talk it out. We just want to think it out. So if you want to discuss it with them, why don't you discuss it with yourself to the point where you can write it down, write it to us, and then we'll think it in our heads and write it back to you. So that way you don't have to do the discussing part with someone who it'll just jolt their brain and not help them process anything. And I think for introverts, before you enter any kind of job that requires a lot of extroversion, you go and practice it. I think the best thing to do is to take some improv classes. It'll help you get to the point where you can maybe get on the same wavelength with an extrovert for a little bit. So what do you guys think? Are you guys introverts or extroverts? Have you gotten pissed at a person of a different temperament, or even a person of your same temperament? Please let me know. Thank you.